So my name's Adam Alesky. I graduated from the Culinary Management program in October of 2012. I am currently working part-time as a wine steward at Lamb Strohackers while also working on my Sommelier Certification. The reason I want to pursue Sommelier Certification, the reason I went to Oregon Culinary Institute, my ultimate goal is to run the wine program at a well-respected restaurant. That's what I want to do. So working sommelier's job is to be on the floor at a lot of restaurants every single night of service. So sometimes you'll see them work in teams because of those hours. And then their main focus really is training up service staff, overseeing the cellar, making sure everything is being stored right, stocks are being kept, finding out harder to find more collectible wines to feature on their menus possibly, and then being on the floor and actually doing wine service, hands-on with the customer, face-to-face throughout dinner service. You know, food's a little bit easier because if people don't have any dietary restrictions or preferences and they've never had food before, you can give them bacon and they're going to think you cook the greatest thing ever. Like, there's a cheat there. You know, there's like those types of food that everybody always seems to love. And with wine, it's really different. People have very particular palates. I actually went to culinary school in order to pursue wine. I'd been interested in wine for a very long time. I started my career working at a winery in Illinois, of all places. I actually had the chance to go see Chef Charlie Trotter speak at the Illinois State University, while my wife was getting her master's degree there. And then afterwards at the book signing, I had a chance to talk to him. And I told him that I wanted to pursue my Sommelier Certification and asked if I should simply go through a certification program or if I should consider culinary school. And he told me that even though he had never graduated from culinary school, he'd also never hired a sommelier who hadn't been. So I figured since that was the type of restaurant one day I would ideally like to work in, I would take that route. And I figured it would give me a chance to decide if I wanted to pursue cooking or wine further as a career. My first experience with wine was abroad when I was younger in France. Then it was just, you know, part of a culture. It was a different way of seeing, honestly, it was a different way of seeing alcohol than I had seen it growing up in America. And then working at getting a job at a winery just kind of reinvigorated my interest in it as far as a beverage and culturally. And then I was able to learn more about it as far as like scientifically and the actual like viticulture and oenology side. It was just endlessly fascinating. But so much went into so many man hours and so much thought goes into just producing like one glass was incredible to me. And the fact that that continually changes over time if done right. So, and it was one of those situations where the more you learn, the more I wanted to learn. And it was kind of the same way with cooking, so that's kind of what led me to culinary school. Generally, my favorite types of wines are types of wines you don't necessarily see for sale that often or on wine lists. When you get into this wonderful position of working in the industry and get to go to industry tastings all the time, it's the weird, quirky stuff that starts to really speak to you a little bit. In Chef Max's class, it absolutely lived up to all of my expectations. I kind of knew the syllabus before I'd even gotten to class and what we were going to get into. Chef Max has been a phenomenal mentor both during my time in culinary school and since then. I see her at industry tastings around still. We always take the time to catch up. She's always available to answer my questions as I continue to pursue this as a career. Chef Max has completely changed the way I looked at tasting wine as far as taking notes in my evaluation, which helped me greatly when I finally started pursuing Sommelier Guild coursework. I was already accustomed to taking notes that way. I was already accustomed to thinking about wine pairings in an outside-the-box, more intensive sort of way. Every wine has a place, every wine has a purpose. I really believe that. And it might just be in a pan as cooking wine. You know, it might be one weird particular dish, or it might be on its own, but I really feel that. Immediately in my first T1 group, there was definitely a core of us that spent a lot of time, even extracurricularly outside of class, spending time together and hanging out, and so made really great friends. And that's a constant discussion. You know, a lot of us carried student loans coming out of OCI, so the discussion is, was it worth it or not? And though I've heard people bemoan their student loans compared to what they're being made, I've never heard a single person who graduated from OCI question whether it was the right decision or not, which I think speaks a lot towards the school. For me, it was definitely worth it, more so than just learning to cook and make good food. Food ethics has stuck with me. It's a constant discussion in my household with my wife about the real cost of food and trying to adjust our budget, and doing that on a personal level and being mindful of that when I go to other restaurants and eat out. Where are they sourcing things? Living in Portland's great because what they make gets shipped here. Everybody ships to Portland, you know, because we're an hour away. But even to Washington or California, a lot of these wines never make it outside the city. It's led to really interesting discussions in the wine world. I was recently talking to a winemaker, and they're working on getting rid of foil caps on the top of their bottles because it's a metal, heavy metal, and they're worried that that industry might be alluding to global pollution and, you know, extra mining efforts that don't need to be done, which was really interesting. I never thought about it that way. I've gotten into discussions about the sustainability of cork as a closure for wine and its importance as a roll. So yeah, it's that has definitely touched me pretty intensely, and continues to affect me. The advice I would give to somebody who's looking at culinary school thinking maybe they're not going to just take a line position somewhere and work their way up to executive chef, potentially. I think the advice I would give you is, if you're going to stay tied to the culinary world, like I really want to work with wine, specifically in a restaurant situation, the foundations given to you at OCI will never fail you. First of all, just having a basic understanding of food and all that goes into making a dish, and how hard those cooks work to get those dishes out in a timely fashion and during a busy service will already make you invaluable, more invaluable as front of the house or any type of supporting staff, because you can appreciate that work.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on everything. I think what you're doing is really great, and good luck.
Thank you.
We'll stay in touch. We'll do like a follow-up